think the question comes up all the time when you own a business, what do you actually do? And I say that because it was a curiosity I had. I worked in different levels of management, and I worked in, of course, at the base level when I worked at a pizza place where I was just a delivery guy, one of the few jobs outside of tech I've ever had. And it's always interesting. I was like, well, what do they do? Why is there middle management? Why is there, all this structure? And as you own a business, you kind of learn why there's a need for structure. And it's sometimes because people don't structure themselves. And we're going to start with what I actually do when I come in the mornings. So a lot of it's coming up with an idea for a video and getting my morning coffee. And it's also, what time is it? 8:30 is when I decided to do this because I've already done. I got here at 7 and I finished all kinds of the little things that roll uphill to me. Now, I'm the anti-micromanager. Too many business owners drive me nuts, and I work for only a couple of them like that, but they just think they need to be involved in everything and the world revolves around them. I am as far from that as possible. I manage to make all of my people very independent, including, and I've talked about this in our workflows before, when it comes to invoicing. So an example is going to be each tech does their own invoicing. And when you decentralize your invoicing, it actually happens a whole lot faster. We actually had one of the law offices we support. They said they wish they could bill as fast as we do. I thought that was kind of funny. They love our service, and it was just kind of anecdotal, but it was like, yeah, you guys just, as soon as they're done, we've got the invoice, and they pay relatively fast. So the process and flow of everything works really well. But part of the reason I'm making this video is I decided it's 8:30 and people aren't here. Now, they don't have to be here, but I have questions. And if they leave unanswered questions, I have to figure out where they're at. So the first things I like to do is, what time are you getting here? And those people are getting messages right now as we speak. It's 8:30. Sometimes they just show up, and it's not. There's different types of job assignments. We have a store that has to be open from 10 to 7. So there's people assigned to be here from 10 to 7. The other people, because they work from home, they work remotely, they don't have to necessarily be here unless they leave me with questions that are unanswered. Now, sometimes I'll throw it on Slack, but I actually want them here today because I want some inventory done by Corey. What time will you be here today? We need to make sure you have all the parts for next week's job. It spelled job wrong. It said shop. That's all right. Maybe I slur my words. Probably. So there's my first one to Corey. Next one is to Marvin, and kind of the same thing. So I have the paperwork notarized. Who do I give it to, and what time will you be here? That one went perfect. These are some of the things that I do. So I had to, Marvin did all the invoicing for that really big job we did. That now requires some notary because the bank funded the job, and because of the amount of money that they paid us, there were changes that had to be made. So even though the invoicing was done by them, they have to have the owner notarize the changes. So I had to work with the other vendor, the other owner, the bank, and then get a notary done to make sure we can get paid because the quoted amount changed because they changed the scope of the project. Good news, they didn't change it much, but they changed it enough that the bank, if there's a dollar change, they want it changed. It was actually we were only about $6,000 more than originally quoted, so that job was pretty big overall because that's actually a small change in the size of that job for what they added, but it worked out really well. But those are things that do roll up to me. Another thing that rolled up to me is a client that had a billing issue because we sent the bill. They wanted it separated because they have separate property. It's a new property management client, so we separated the bills. Sometimes those are things that roll up to me. They said, hey, can you create more than one bill to? And my Steve, when he did the job, just created one bill to and created it because that's no one told him not to. We looked at it as one entity, but they like separate invoices for each of their properties. So for the most part, I stay out of a lot of that. And it's kind of funny because sometimes people ask me, well, you know the price on this? I'm like, I actually don't. And part of that's because I don't want to be in the middle of everything, because if you put yourself in the middle of everything as a business owner, the business can't run without you. And you don't have a business, you have a job. And I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding that, and they think it's, it's my baby, so I have to do everything with it. And I'm actually going to be doing a speaking event in about 2 hours over at, I've talked about this before on my channel. I'm a Goldman Sachs small business graduate from their program, and because I like to do public speaking, i.e. YouTube, to me it looks like a public speaking event. One of the things I do is come back and coach people on this and talk about business, and this is a little bit more focused on social media, but I also hang out for some of the round tables, and there's another one that's going to go on afterwards. And I thought about bringing a camera there to talk about this. Like, it's difficult though, because it's hard to say, hey, I'm going to put you guys all on film and ask any questions. That's not as accepted. So, I applaud people like Casey Neistat who own it, who can take a camera everywhere. But with what I do, it's hard because we go into secure buildings. We have to sign NDAs occasionally, and you can't reveal technical details of things. And some people just go, no, you can't film my meetings. So as much as I'd like to talk about more, I can talk about more of what I do. I just can't take you with me, everyone on the camera here. But we'll talk about a little bit what else is going on in the shop. Because I come in here in the mornings and kind of like, hey, what's going on? And we've been doing a lot of custom build work. This is cool. This is Steve's baby, because people, I had someone message me and they're like, I'm looking for the best gaming, I love your YouTube channel. And I said, thank you for the love, but I have no recommendation there. But you've talked about, no, I'm clueless. I don't know what the latest graphics card is. I hardly play games, but don't worry, I have a solution. And I just redirect them over to Steve, and Steve talked to the person, and we built them a really cool custom computer. And here's another, these are just some of the parts. I know that's a Cool Master, make it yours, cooler. And maybe I'll do some videos. I do like this stuff. I'm just not a real hardware geek anymore. I like some of the server stuff. I like that. This pretty cool memory that's in this box here. And this is also a little bit of our business process of how we do this. So cool, Core i7 8700K. Maybe we'll do some videos on this build because it's kind of a nice build. We work with a lot of local people they bring in the parts. This was all purchased from Newegg and not by us. They purchase. Well, a lot of times we'll just provide the labor, and I'm perfectly fine doing that. This actually solves some problems, and if you ever want to get into the custom building market, where you have them get all the parts and they'll take care of all the warranty and that, and then you don't have that negotiation problem of, well, I can get it cheaper here. Go ahead and get it cheaper there. You warranty all the parts. We just do the labor. We will help you with a recommended buy list, kind of as a consultant. And then we do the build, and we make the money on that, and everybody wins. You get a cool new computer, and there's some assembly done by us, so it's done by professionals who know how to do this. Well, and it's not me. Don't worry. It's Steve and Kyle. They know how to assemble it. You don't want Tom assembling it, by the way. Just, it's not a deflection. Some people think you're just deflecting because you don't want to talk. I'm like, no, I seriously, I own a business. But I'm also very technically involved in architecture of the jobs. I'm involved at the high levels because that I have a passion for and enjoy. That's an important aspect to me, that I have a technical understanding, because I know some business owners, and even in the technical world, I've known one. Matter of fact, the guy I worked for, it would have been in 1996, one of my first tech jobs. He had zero interest in technology. He just knew there was money by employing a bunch of technical people. And I'm fine if you want to be that person. If you just want to make a bunch of money in a tech business, that's cool. I'm way more of a geek and a nerd. I'm just not a hardware nerd that plays a lot of games. I'm more of a, hey, what can we do with this networking and everything else, and open source projects and setting up servers. That's why there's so many more videos on that than there are on gaming builds. But we're trying to think about putting some more videos together about that, talking about the hardware, as it does become interesting. And I talked about maybe we can get some sponsors to do that. So that's kind of an update for that. That's another thing you have to think about when you're owning a business, is what are you going to do next? So processes are in place that when I go and disappear for the day doing my Goldman Sachs thing and hanging out with a bunch of people talking business, and generally I'm going to have a good time. I really enjoy all the people there, because it's going to be over at the Wayne State University, and I have fun hanging out with all the teachers and the professors there, and there's a lot of really smart people who just I have a good time with, but the business can completely run without me, and that's part of the aspect of it. it's important to structure it that way. So I'm involved when there's a new plan or a direction I'm taking the business in. Like, hey, we're going to do this YouTube thing, which actually got a lot of pushback. They think it's a big waste of space having a studio over there. That was when we first built it. Now the attitude is, hey, this YouTube thing's really cool. So it's one of those things you have to make decisions as a business owner of the direction of the company, but you have to set up processes for people to follow so you don't become deeply involved in everything. And I heard my phone go off, so let's see, what time will Marvin be here? I think that goes to Kevin. I'll find out for sure, and I'll be there by 9:30. And this is just a little coordination, and it's only those little exceptions that come up to me, and that's kind of the important part. Another exception that came up to me, and we're going to talk about this maybe next week. I'm going to find some time to really focus on some of these job planning videos, because I was thinking, there's a lot that goes involved in there, and I've been doing it for so long, it's kind of just fluid. Like, how do you plan? How did you scale this? Well, we're doing another big job for Chrysler right now, the car company, the dealerships, and this requires, equipment, man lifts to be rented, and everything else. We don't own man lifts, and it's actually because it's actually cheaper to rent them because we don't need them very often. Most of our jobs are like this building, drop ceiling, easy to get in, so that's not a big deal. But let me walk you around and show you something else I'm working on. So now I'm here in the studio, and this is where my other ideas come in. So, I get stuff going out there, make sure everyone's doing their thing in the shop area, and this is kind of, this side's my area, and the kitchen is behind the camera, and you've seen plenty of videos if you watch the channel in the kitchen area. So that's where mostly they hang out, and then this is all the things I'm working on. So there's been a lot of questions and a lot of confusion, it appears, based on what I read in forums. This is where I get my ideas. Sometimes I spend some time on Reddit. I need to post more on Reddit. I mostly just read a lot because I love reading, and I see what people are asking about. So we have here a couple 10 gig network cards I picked up for cheap. So this is some videos I have coming to where I can walk you through setting up your 10 gigabit at home. And one of my things, we deal a lot with commercial equipment that I can't take the camera in a data center at all. Matter of fact, some places are kind of weird. They don't even want you bringing your phone. They're like, just leave it over here. But this stuff's become very affordable. And if you're a tech going, how do I get started in this business? This is kind of how you get started. Once you have some of the concepts of how things interconnect, it just scales upwards when you go into the data center. So yeah, cool. There's some old cards. I think I paid $17 on eBay for this one. I know I paid even less for this. I think this is a dual fiber card, and I'm going to break some details around this. And that's kind of my idea, is to spark some passions. I like to see more people getting into technology, because the reality is there's just not enough people. That's one of the things I think about. Like, how do we get more people? When I talk about some of these things that happened, like the military disaster recently of all those documents getting stolen, I tweeted about, it was because someone didn't know what they were doing. And I'm not here to pick on anyone. I'm not here to say, oh, they're just a bunch of idiots or whatever. No, someone who didn't have a firm grasp on technology turned on a consumer router in what should have been a secure environment, and then they turned on FTP. And by doing that, they didn't bother changing the default password. And if they would have taken the time to learn more about technology, they would have understood better why it's a bad idea, versus the retrospect of the government lost a bunch of documents over this. And I'm hoping, and I don't know if I'll change the world here or not, but I'm hoping more people get inspired and start thinking about security and technology. And that's a part of my passion for driving, that drives me. The same reason I'm going to be talking to these business owners about concepts in business and concepts in social media, which is kind of the focus of the talk today. It's the same thing on YouTube, where I want to talk about how you can get involved in all this, how you can go find some of these things on eBay for very reasonable prices and start tinkering with technology, start playing with it. And the hardest part is getting started. People don't know where even to begin, and that's why I started doing, and I have a bunch more planned. I've been playing a lot with the new version of FreeNAS. That's what this server is over here. And I'm going to do like a whole getting started with FreeNAS 11.2, kind of a start to finish video. That seemed to go really well with my pfSense video. I have a whole start to finish video on that. I'll have a start to finish video on getting started with 10 gigabit networking and fiber. And what are the different types of fiber? And what is this connector called? And what is that connector called? And why do I use this? And why does this thing slide out like this? That's an SFP plus versus, what is this? It's on the floor. So these are those other things I spend my time thinking about. And like I said, I plan to do some more build planning videos. I'm just trying to think of how to organize it, because when you do something all the time, it kind of becomes very fluid, and I have to think about how do I structure it into a video. With loading software, it becomes really easy because it's less fuzzy. It's start with the USB drive, flash the USB drive, step through hardware. No problem. I'm going to show you how to do an iSCSI connector. No problem. Here's step 1, step 2, step 3. Problem is, how did I plan the Wi-Fi for the marina that we just finished? Well, there was a lot of bidding, there was a lot of phone calls, there was a lot of debate back and forth with people. Turning that into a structure is a little bit harder. The placement of the Wi-Fi is actually easier. People overthink the hell out of that. Go ahead and pull an overhead map, figure out how the distance on the Wi-Fis, and drop them in. That part's not rocket science. We have next week, and I'll see if he'll let me film there. We're doing another very wealthy person's house, putting more Wi-Fi on their property, estate, if you want to call it. People ask how you do the Wi-Fi planning. Well, the house was built in 1912, I think. It's right around turn of the century house, beautiful brick mansion, a lot of stonework. The problem is there's everything from rebar, whatever they use to build it just zaps out Wi-Fi. So we're adding spots for dead zones. Now people go, oh, there's this Wi-Fi planning utility, and that's what I use. Unfortunately, I have not found any of them that seem to visibly see in walls. You can make assumptions about construction and kind of get an idea, but when it comes to actually deploying the Wi-Fi, the way I'm going to go there is take some units, and we've already done some Wi-Fi there with Unify. Take a couple units, add them, and say, all right, does this cover the area where you work? Because what really matters to the owner of that building, of that house, is that the Wi-Fi works where he wants it to work. Not some, I can say I blanketed the whole house. If I missed one corner, he could care less about all those. He only cares that it works the spots where he wants to be. And apparently one of those spots is they have a gym in the house, and the gym it does not work in, not properly. He has a weak signal on his iPad. So we will go there and fix it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring a Wi-Fi in that area, and it's not easy to drill through anything in his house. Like I said, they built it turn of the century, so it's not like it's just any project with this house when it comes to running wires is simple. So we have to look at the path, see if there is a path, and maybe use a repeater or a mesh. They don't care about speed. They care about being able to check his stocks each morning. That is literally the request. I want to be able to go anywhere in my house or stand in my workout room with my iPad and understand my stocks. That's important to them, and that's the solution we will provide. So you have to think about it differently. You don't just come in there selling it, I'm just going to put Wi-Fi everywhere, and it'll make you happy. Talk about the use case, talk with the client. I want to be able to check my stocks while I do my workout, and right now that does not work. Fix it. No problem. We fix it. We'll be there. And so that's going to be a fun meeting. I'm actually involved in doing that because the guy is on the board of another organization that we take care of, so I do stop out there for myself. It's more, I won't probably be the one doing any of the Wi-Fi installs. I never am. I don't do the cabling and that. That's why people ask me, Tom, what's your favorite brand of cable? I'm like, I don't know, whatever Corey orders. Corey will actually do the placement, so I'll make a note of this is where it's going to go in the house, and then Corey will schedule and coordinate getting that done. So that's kind of how those jobs. So I do get involved a little bit in the jobs because it comes back to that technical planning side. I enjoy doing that aspect. I enjoy a lot less asking people when they're going to be here and why there's paperwork that I don't know where it belongs, but I did get it notarized. But I want to give you an update. That's kind of what I do, and dealing a lot with that stuff. You know, I try to delegate as much as possible, but just think of that if you're going to own a business or, you know, how you're going to get there. That's important. I think the last notes is I'm going to do a video soon on how to hire people. Maybe it's really hard to hire people. It's kind of a challenge. The other side of that is directly related because I know a lot of you are starting out as a single business, one-man show as they may call it, and how do you get to more employees? Well, there's kind of a tipping point where you have to get to know more employees or you don't have a business, you have a job, back like I said earlier. So going into that level of it is really difficult because you're going, okay, I'm going to commit to payroll, and I have to have X dollars available every month for this person. This is a lot of times why business start as partnerships, because then you and your partner both have a vested interest in growing the business, so you'll also have a vested interest in keeping your payments very, very low of money you take out to work together to vest into the business to build it. This is why a lot of companies start out that way. But I did not start out as a partnership. I've had a partnership with a completely different company I had called Suburban Computers that I owned in parallel to this one. And that didn't work out. Partners are you have to find the right one. It's not that partnerships don't work out. They do if you have the right partner. I did not. I think I may have talked about that somewhere. I don't remember. It's not a good story. It didn't end well. It is a pain in the butt. But when you want to go into hiring people and get that, you have to make the commitment at some point. And once you free yourself up to having someone do all that other work and you can delegate to them all the tasks possible, then you can start thinking more and doing more things to build the business. So it is important to get there. I don't know if there's an easy steps. I think everyone's looking for that step to do it. Like, hey, Tom, there's a secret I'm missing. Like, I read 20 business books and none of them told me that secret. And I'm like, the thing I can tell you after being in business for 15 years now, so I opened a company in 2003, wow, and I've worked for myself longer than I worked for any one company or had even employment at all. I've worked for myself longer than I've ever had a job anywhere. It's not easy. There's not a secret to business. It's just a lot of hustling, a lot of get out there, sales, knocking on doors and things like that, and being able to deliver on your promises and things like that. It's really kind of that simple. And the business plan stuff is, I'll do a whole business planning one because I think people overemphasize that. People are like, oh, can I see your business plan? I'm like, I don't really have one. I'm like, I was going to go fix computers and charge people money, and I've talked about this before. That's how you make money. It's not a lot more complicated than that. So, all right, well, that's about it. That's me. Messages from people messaging me back now saying, I just woke up. It's 8:45. I just woke up. All right, cool. Well, he stays up late. He worked late, so I'll give him a pass on that. I'm pretty relaxed. Like I say, he doesn't have a time he has to be here, so I'll give him a pass on that, and then he'll message me back, and then we'll figure out, make sure he's got all the parts so we have everything ready for that job next week. It's a pretty big on-site wiring job. It's going to require a few people to get done, and maybe I'll do some videos on that. It's kind of not as easy to film at a car dealership. I don't know if I've ever filmed. We've done a lot of car dealerships because we have a connection with them, and they're so happy with our work. We've been working now for a few years, and that it's been a great relationship because it turns out way car dealerships work. One guy owns, I think there's 9 dealerships or 10 dealerships. I can't remember that we're now doing work for. Because they keep buying more dealerships. Every time they buy a dealership, we get to rewire it because they want everything new. We're actually running all Cat 6A. That's the level of new. They want like the new. There's a budget, of course, but the budget's like, doesn't matter. Cat 6A, full runs, even redundant runs. They want everything done double, which they did that before when we did one of their other buildings, and now this one, they're like, we decided we're going to go Cat 6A on these 3 new buildings, so we had to order. That's why I got to make sure we don't stock a lot of Cat 6A. There's not like a big demand for, there's people want Cat 6, a lot of people still want Cat 5e because it's adequate, and people rarely need to go over gigabit speeds or even bother with it, so Cat 5e still does gigabit. It's cheaper, but we do Cat 6 installs and we do Cat 6A installs. Not much for Cat 7. I don't see much of demand for that right now, and that's also really pricey. Well, I'll leave you with that, and that's me done babbling, but this is, as a owner of the business, this is another kind of day in the life stuff I do. Maybe if I get more skilled, I can vlog my day like Casey Neistat. I kind of like his style. It's funny because he doesn't, if you really watch Casey Neistat, and he's a very interesting person, he's got like a really cool style that he does it, but if you watch his video, count the words. He actually doesn't say a whole lot, but he just gives you a lot of wonderful cinematography, which I think is also really interesting. But you don't need a lot of words. I've used way too many words, I think, already, so hopefully you didn't get bored listening to me. Thanks. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up. Leave us some feedback below to let us know any details, what you like and didn't like as well, because we love hearing the feedback. Or if you just want to say thanks, leave a comment. If you want to be notified of new videos as they come out, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the bell icon. That lets YouTube know that you're interested in notifications. Hopefully they send them, as we've learned with YouTube. Anyways, if you want to contract us for consulting services, you go ahead and hit lawrencesystems.com, and you can reach out to us for all the projects that we can do and help you. We work with a lot of small businesses, IT companies, even some large companies, and you can farm different work out to us or just hire us as a consultant to help design your network. Also, if you want to help the channel in other ways, we have a Patreon. We have affiliate links. You'll find them in the description. You'll also find recommendations to other affiliate links and things you can sign up for on lawrencesystems.com. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.